Good evening, guys, and happy Monday to all of your sunshiny faces. Guys, I woke up late today. Was not happy about that, but I had one of my more productive days. It's weird. A lot of times when I actually wake up late, I'm actually pretty productive because I feel like, oh no, I slept in late. I have to make sure that I get a lot of stuff done to compensate for the fact that I woke up late. So actually I did laundry and dishes today, and then I ended up I edited 2 vlogs and I uploaded 4. I have a bunch that are already edited. I just have never gotten around to uploading them. Yes, that's the word. I haven't gotten around to uploading them yet, and so it has taken me, like, you know, I've had them, like, they've probably been on there for like several weeks now. It's probably like 10 plus videos that are on there. So it's like I need to try and upload a lot of these and try and also upload more than maybe what I'm editing, even just because I'm gonna start running out of room on my Mac for the ones that are edited already that I just need to get up. So I ended up doing that today as well. So I got to, like I said, that is one of the bigger things too that I'm always like, I need to make sure I get to this. So yes, but on top of that, I was also, because I don't really know, no, I do know what prompted me to think of this. Yesterday I was talking to my mom and she made a reference to something, and then I was like, oh, who's that? And she's like, you don't know who that is? I can't remember what we were talking about. But she was like, oh, you don't know who that is? And I was like, no. And she was like explaining to me, and it was from like an old sitcom or something like that. I hadn't seen it, and I realized that there's a lot of, like, not only references like from old, not necessarily even sitcoms in general, just like TV shows and things like that that get referenced. Unless you have seen the series or whatever, you don't sometimes always know or can't pick up on what people are saying. So today I had the bright idea to actually, while I was editing, so I could be productive at the same time, actually go through and figure out, I was like, there's a lot of old again, like TV shows and stuff like that that you know, are like far beyond my time even, really, that I haven't seen or haven't watched a lot of either. Like the Brady Bunch or I Love Lucy. Like, I've seen episodes, especially a lot more recently for some reason with the Brady Bunch. My mom has been, especially on the weekends, like, and it seems like Sunday mornings especially, I've gone in the living room sometimes and she's like watching Boomerang, like watching the Flintstones or something like that. And sometimes too she'll be watching, I think it's like Me TV or whatever, like the old like MASH and Brady Bunch and that kind of stuff will be on, and like my mom will be randomly watching it. And so I was like, I'm not a huge fan of MASH, but I remember watching the Brady Bunch sometimes when I was younger, but then again, up until recently, like I said, maybe within just the last couple months, really, my mom has been like watching some of that stuff. And so, like I said, yesterday she made a reference to something. I had no clue really what she was talking about. Now she was like, you haven't seen that, or, you know, watched it or whatever? And I was like, no. I was like, you know, like I said, I don't remember what we were talking about, but I was like, I know the premise for like a lot of older TV series, but I haven't seen a whole ton of them either. And so I was like, you know what, that's what I'm gonna do, because honestly, we have subscriptions to Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, which I'll be honest, guys, out of all the old TV series I was looking up, Netflix has literally none of them. They are all like either on Hulu, which has a ton, or Amazon Prime also has a pretty good amount of, like I said, older, but especially Hulu. Like, if you're like, I want to watch old TV series, like Hulu's probably the #1 to go with. But it has like a ton right now on there. And of course that always ends up changing too. Like, you know, they have it for only a limited amount of time before they wind up not having it. Netflix, I feel like, has a little bit older but more modern, like within like maybe the last 10 to 20 years, like sort of TV series. and not so much a lot of the much older stuff like Hulu seems like it has. So like I said, I was going through there, and actually today I was watching I Love Lucy because I was like, again, I've seen some episodes, you know, again, every now and then, and it doesn't have all of them. I don't know why. It actually, like, it doesn't have like the first like 4 episodes, then it like sort of like skips over some of them sometimes. So like it doesn't have necessarily every single episode, but it does have, I think, all the seasons, just not necessarily every single episode, which is weird because sometimes it does, like on Hulu, they won't get all of the seasons. They might only have, like, if it's a still running TV show, you might only get like the most like recent season, and or if it's like an older one, then sometimes they might not have all of them. Like I think Murder, She Wrote on Amazon Prime only has like the first 5 seasons, I think. I remember a while ago it was on Netflix, like a way long time ago, like when I was in high school, because I watched a lot of it, and I think they had all of the seasons back then, but like there's only a couple on there right now, so it's not that they necessarily have all of the episodes or seasons or whatever of those particular shows, but there is a lot of the older, newer ones, I guess, like more like the 90s, honestly, like stuff from the 90s. I've probably like seen almost most of, if not all of, like several episodes probably from all of those seasons from like the 90s. There's a lot of the more popular like comedies, especially like The King of Queens, Everybody Loves Raymond, and Friends. I have both of those on DVD. Like I think Frasier came out around that time too, but I don't remember like I wasn't hugely into that. Like Will and Grace and Home Improvement, like I remember watching that a lot. King of Queens, I think I just said that one. But like I said, a lot of those, like, because those were ones like my parents watched, and so if they were like, oh yeah, this is like an appropriate episode or whatever, they'd be like, sure, you can watch this. Like that was really how like Friends for me when I was growing up was probably a little too like over my head, or maybe even inappropriate to watch at that time. But like Everybody Loves Raymond, like there might be an episode or two here where like here or there that was like not necessarily okay to watch, because again, I was born in 95, so but a lot of times, like I remember when I was a little bit older, like maybe again, like 8 or 9, you know, maybe 10 years old and stuff like that, you know, like they'd let me watch, especially that. So like I grew up watching that, and again too, sometimes Friends, but like especially as I got older, like I watched that a lot more often, and so, but like I remember too, like when I was in middle school, I think I literally watched all of the Home Improvement episodes. They'd all have like the reruns, like, you know, later in the afternoon, and so I remember like it was on like Nick at Night, and so when I was like in middle school, sort of, it was more like that time, I think I watched like a lot of that stuff, and so like I said, I just remember like personally watching a lot of that when I was younger. And like my mom we'd started watching The Wonder Years, like a couple episodes, because I was on Hulu as well, I believe. And so my mom was like trying to figure out something for us to watch recently, and she's like, oh, why don't we just watch this, you know? So like we were all sort of doing something, but she's like, I'll just put it on in the background. And that's sort of what I want to do, because I'm like, I sort of want to like have something to going on while I'm editing, because sometimes like either I, you know, I'm like either when I'm finished or done or whatever, and then waiting for it to save and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now with this downtime? And so like if I'm already sort of watching something, but like not paying it a whole too much mind to it, because like I said, there's certain like shows that I probably am not going to be like totally into, or again sort of at some point be like, okay, this is getting repetitive or boring or whatever, this episode I'm not really into, you know, because like Jack was doing a like a list of movies that he really wants to watch, like, you know, sort of like classic movies, like movies everybody should see, and a lot of those are like ones I've already seen though, but like Jack hasn't seen them for whatever reasons. I was on Hulu, I think it was today, and he had said he'd never seen Napoleon Dynamite, and I was like, you have to see that movie. Like, it's sort of like a classic. Like, you know, I've seen it several times. I just actually watched it recently. I don't remember what it was on, but I watched like part of it. I didn't get to see the whole thing, so I want to see that again, you know, at some point. But like, I feel like there are like either a lot of movies or a lot of especially older TV series that are like very iconic and get referenced so much now in like modern day, you know, either just as like topical references or either as just like conversational references, or like even in other television shows and movies and stuff like that. You know, like there's parody episodes of things, like especially in Family Guy, which I watch a lot. Like there's so many different things in there that get referenced a lot, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know what that's about, or you know, I haven't seen that. You know, especially too, like you think about like the iconic like I Love Lucy, like the chocolates, you know, that one, like that has been used like hundreds of times, I'm sure, in all kinds of different, you know, television and movie and all that kind of stuff. You know, just like different types of parody things and stuff like that, that it, like I said, just gets used so often. And so that's why it's like there's certain things that you have to seen to sort of not necessarily know, like it can still be funny, but sort of know where that came from, and that was like a reference back to something else. So like I said, I know that Family Guy does that a lot, and so that's what sort of like, I'm like, oh, I know that that's that, you know, TV show, but I've never actually seen it or whatever. So I ended up making a list too, of all the TV series that I'm really wanting to watch, because like I said, it's just like if I'm doing something else, I can sort of have it just running in the background or whatever, unless it's like I really want to pay attention to it or watch it or whatever. But I feel like especially with like more like sitcoms, you don't really have to pay that much attention. Like, you know, like, okay, you know, I understand the premise of this episode, okay, the joke landed, okay, it was funny, sort of thing. I feel like sometimes other TV shows you really have to watch and pay attention to, but especially like sitcoms. But I didn't just add that too, like I added the Twilight Zone, because again, that too is one of the other big things that gets referenced like so much, or there's again like parodies or you know, like remakes sort of, but come from the premise of those stories. And so that's like another huge one. And like I said too, a lot of like I Love Lucy and stuff like that, because that was really one of like the first sitcoms. But that's why I feel like there's sometimes stuff that maybe jokes or things like that that land in sometimes certain TV shows and stuff like that that can be over your head if you never saw something else, or never watched it. And so I, like I said, was making that list today so that I can watch some of those, again, classic TV shows and understand some things a little bit more, but also like, you know, like pop culture references too, you know, even though it's maybe from the 50s or the 60s, but it's still sort of a reference that gets made to today. Honestly guys, it's funny because like I still love to watch like, you know, Rick and Morty and Family Guy and stuff like that, some newer TV shows, and you know, things along those lines, and sometimes sitcoms. I'm not hugely, it's funny, me and Matthew really aren't hugely into sitcoms that much, but I do want to watch some older ones just because I feel like it's like I said, like those references and stuff like that that get made. But for me, I really like anything that's sort of not from the last like 2 decades, really. I totally feel sometimes like I was born in the wrong decade. Just like, I don't know, like things sometimes, especially like comedy, like sitcoms and stuff like that, like it's sort of funny to me, but like, I don't know, like maybe it just doesn't land. Like personally for me, I really love to see not only like the different decades, at least with I Love Lucy, the one that's on Hulu, which I think some like DVDs have it remastered where it's in color, but like this is in black and white, but like still seeing like the, you know, like, you know, the outfits, the dresses, the clothing, the, you know, the architecture, or, you know, even though it's like on a set, but you know, the furniture and, you know, all that kind of stuff, like on a you know, from like back in that time, and then even to, again, 60s, 70s, 80s, all that kind of stuff. Like I really like that, you know, just the atmosphere of those different like decades, and you know, also the music too. I listened to the music that was popular when I was in middle school and high school and all that kind of stuff, but now the more that like I listen to like, you know, music from like the 30s even, and all the way back till from then all the way up until like the 80s, I was like, you can hear progression in it. And the same with like watching like TV shows, like again from back then, you can sort of see the progression that, you know, again, a TV shows go over a couple of years, and so you can see sort of that progression, and or, you know, different TV series as well, and how things changed, camera changed, you know, the you know, the style of recording them changed, you know, all that kind of stuff was just different from you know, like I said, what it is sort of today. So to me, all of that kind of stuff is interesting, and I don't always love things that are from the modern day. You know, I like to be a little old school sometimes. So yeah, anyways guys, I need to take a shower and get to bed, but thought I'd just share that with you guys. That is what I spent a lot of my day doing today, and sort of like I said, thinking about, especially when my mom said something last night and I was like, I have no clue what she's talking about. And like, I like to be very educated too, and like be like, okay, I've seen that, I know what somebody's talking about, or I know that reference that was made, or in that TV show, or somebody, you know, said or whatever, and I can really understand and be a part of the conversation when it comes to stuff like that. Because I don't like to just join in with something when I don't really know what it is that everybody else is talking about. And not even only that, but I also like to do my history lesson too. Sort of, I love history. That's why I think I love anything that is, you know, older, because then I like to look up like, okay, like, you know, who were these actors and actresses and all that kind of stuff, and like I said, sort of do my history lesson on, you know, that kind of stuff too is also really fun for me. I guess I'm sort of nerdy when it comes to that, but the same with music too. I really love to look up like, you know, oh, who composed that music and stuff like that, or, you know, wrote the music that this person was singing, because, you know, that's also different. And so like I said, I really like to, you know, do that in addition to, and it makes the gravity of what you're watching or listening to, reading, you know, if it comes to books or whatever and stuff like that, I think that it adds to that a lot more and makes it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, anyways guys, I need to take a shower and get to bed. I'll see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.